we had a very interesting week for game news. Without further ado, let's get started. Now to begin with, if you're anywhere near New York City and you're looking for something to do, Indiecade East is happening right now. It takes place at the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria in New York City from February 13th to 15th, 2015. We've got your coverage of this great event at blackmanandrobin.com. You can expect to see more footage from it next week. Now, here at blackmanandrobin.com, we don't currently have anybody covering iOS games. In fact, if you're willing to cover iOS games, we got a job offer for you. However, Altos Adventure caught my eye. It's a gorgeous, endless platformer in which you are snowboarding. It's coming out to iOS and iPad, and it will be available on February 19th. On the subject of fresh twists on familiar genres, Off-World Trading Company has just hit early access for Mac and PC. Now, Off-World Trading Company is a very interesting sort of real-time strategy game. Imagine, if you will, a real-time strategy game in which you're not fighting, but trading. In fact, the game revolves around trade. And imagine also if you were the Dutch East India Company, but instead of trading around the Caribbean, you're in outer space. While I have not yet played the game, if the trailer is anything to go on and the first impressions of players are trustworthy, it's definitely going to be worth trying.
We love StarCraft, we love Age of Empires, we love Company of Heroes, but these are all military RTS games, so although they have their differences, in some way they're all kind of very much the same game. So we wanted to make an RTS, a game you could play with up to 8 people in maybe 30 minutes, but one that was built upon an entirely different system. And it's about founding a colony on Mars and then running it as a business, trying to make the most money and buy out your competition. The games are very dynamic. No two games are ever the same of Off-World, because in the background there's this free market of resources. There's 13 resources, they all have their own price, and the prices fluctuate over the game. And they go up and down largely based off of player actions. So we hope you help take part in this process. Get yourself a copy of Off-World, play it, let us know what you think of it, and then help us make Off-World something new and something great.
While we're on the subject of strategy games, you might be pleased to know that Sega has announced their Make War, Not Love event, and it's between Creative Assembly and Relic Entertainment. The event is basically an excuse to have a free weekend for Company of Heroes 2 and Total War Rome 2 on Steam. Now, whichever game has more wins between players by the end of the weekend, be it Total War Rome 2 or Company of Heroes 2, that determines who gets free DLC for their game. Additionally, if Total War Rome 2 wins, then Total War Attila is going to get some free DLC in a matter of days. We have the full details up on blackmanandrobin.com if you'd like to participate. If you'd like to jump into this straight away, then just open up Steam, install Total War Rome 2, because that's what I'm rooting for, and check it out.
We are your representatives.
Now, while we're talking about Sega, remember the disaster that was Aliens Colonial Marines? It was developed by Gearbox, published by Sega. Total nightmare. Well, if you're looking for a much better Alien game, we've got good news for you. Alien Infestation has come to the incredibly manly video game Broforce. This is a free piece of DLC for the game, which is still in early access on Steam. Broforce is also on sale, so if you have been putting off picking it up, you might want to get it now. This isn't the first time that Broforce has utilized another IP in its game. Earlier, Broforce had the Expendabros, which, as you might guess, was an expansion based off the Expendable Spring. In other news, Bethesda is going to be hosting their own E3 2015 press conference. Now, they haven't announced exactly what it is they'll be showing off. It could be the sequel to everybody's favorite parkour shooter, Brink, or maybe it's for the HD remaster of the original Quake for the iPhone, or maybe it's for an open-world, massively multiplayer, survival horror. Nah, it's probably Fallout 4. Well, that's what everybody hopes it'll be anyway. Will you be tuning into the mystery conference? Tweet us at Blackman and Robin. If we like what you say, we just might surprise you with a Steam key.
Kidnapping, the founders have finally authorized the use of deadly force.
Captain, on deck!
Now, were you disappointed by the release of Cities XXL? In case you didn't hear, Cities XXL is pretty much just Cities XL with a fresh coat of paint. Fortunately, on March 10, 2015, Cities Skyline is coming out from Paradox. Now, hopefully this bucks the trend of the terrible city building games that we've been seeing as of late. I mean, between Cities XXL and the recent SimCity disappointment, things haven't been looking up for the genre. Cities Skyline looks pretty promising. Hopefully it lives up to that promise when it comes out later this year. Now, you might have heard of Bossa Studios. They're the folks responsible for I Am Bread.
He told me of his theory that the bread was somehow responsible for the incidents.
No comment on that game, however, their latest certainly has my attention. It's called Worlds Adrift. It's an open-world adventure in which you are running around building airships. At current, there's not too much information available about the game. However, wind will play a pretty big role, and you're going to be exploring different islands using these airships. There's also going to be a multiplayer aspect to the game. I can't help but be reminded of Sky Nations, albeit with a different visual style. Hopefully, this game sets itself apart as unique.
You can see here that there's a day-night cycle, and that even this placeholder environment already has a different feel to it during the day compared with the night. You'll notice that the character now has a multi-tool in his left hand. This is how you do most basic things in the game, from harvesting and repairing to crafting. Here's the inventory UI, which leads me to another really cool thing that Luke here is doing, making a crossbow and wooden bolts. We weren't joking with the whole multiplayer physics thing. These crossbow projectiles are real physics objects. Alright, that's all from us this week. There's a new feedback wall on the Worlds Adrift website that'll let you guys offer your thoughts and suggestions, and then vote on which pieces of feedback you'd like us to pay more attention to.
I'll be honest, after a few too many disappointments, I don't like to make a habit of showing off games on Kickstarter that I haven't had the chance to play yet, but Windwalkers is going to have to be this week's exception. Windwalkers is based off the critically acclaimed French science fiction novel Le Horde du Contrevent. It's set on a world of eternally shifting sands, where the wind is constantly blowing, and people have been sent out in order to discover the source of the winds. Unfortunately, over the last few centuries, none of these people who have been sent out to investigate the wind have ever come back. The studio at work on the game says that it's going to be an ARPG of some sort. There's not very much information available about gameplay, unfortunately. However, I'm kind of just sold on the concept itself. I mean, they have the best Kickstarter pitch that I've ever seen. If nothing else, the game will be cinematic. Now, on the subject of cinematic, Windwalkers, the game, is only part one of their transmedia project. The goal is to also put out a comic book and film that tie everything together. While I can't say for certain how everything is going to turn out, I really do wish these guys the best and hope that their Kickstarter is a success. If you'd like to see their full Kickstarter pitch, as well as more information about Windwalkers, we've got it up right now at blackmanandrobin.com. If you play Dota, you've probably already noticed that the Year Beast has returned.
My master told me of the creature's first coming. It struck without warning, razing our first great city to the ground, slaughtering every warrior we had.
This time, however, your goal is not to slay the creature, but to tame it. Now, Valve has taken some worrying steps towards pay-to-win with regards to this latest update, specifically regarding the Crystal Maida Arcana. Now, if somebody buys the special set that they've released just for this event, and you play a game with that person, you get points that you can use towards playing a match against the Year Beast. You can also just purchase these points. This is a worrying step. Hopefully Valve reins it in before they pull something stupid. In happier Dota 2 related news, they've just released Winter Wyvern, their latest hero. Winter Wyvern's abilities are rather support focused, and one of her abilities, which freezes players in a block of ice and heals them, has a very interesting synergy if played with Phoenix. So if you're going to go Winter Wyvern, I recommend you try and get a Phoenix on your team as well. Finally, we're ending with some pretty cool news. Legend of Grimrock is coming to iPad. This first-person dungeon crawler is pretty fun. We actually have a review of it up on blackmanandrobin.com if you'd like to check it out. It came to Mac, PC, and Linux a while ago, and this iPad port looks pretty promising. If you've always wanted to fight giant spiders on the go and explore deep, dark, moldy dungeons, you're going to want to check out Legend of Grimrock for iPad. Well, that's it for this week's game news. Be sure to follow at Blackman and Robin for all the latest reviews, previews, and interviews. And follow me at Jordan Cameron for my overviews.